Thank you. Thank you for the chance to be here. I would like to say, by way of introduction, and I want this included in any published version of this, that I've been specifically asked to try to be provocative, so I'm going to say things that I don't necessarily mean, and I don't want to be quoted on it. After having said that, which I know will be included in the published version, I'd like to start by acknowledging Simona's leadership on this point and the whole team here at Leeds for preparing a situation where we can come flying in for one full day and have such incredible, engaged and stimulating discussions. It's really been a treat, so thanks for that. I had been asking myself, as I prepared for this, what are three things that I would like to put on the table from the draft that we've all seen, and I'd like to share those with you. The first of them involves sustainability. Simona said in her talk this morning that solving inequality will lead us to solve our global challenges. And the most important global challenge we have today is about sustainability. Sustainability is a particularly special case of the opportunity for cooperation and collaboration instead of competition. You can't win at being the sustainability university if what that means is the others don't become sustainability universities. You can win at being the engineering university by driving the others out of the business. But if you want to win at being the sustainability university, the way to do that is to get everybody else with you, because it doesn't matter if you're the only one doing sustainability. And that's a fundamentally different kind of leadership task than the competitive kind of leadership task. And I would suggest that it requires a different kind of leadership. You have to be comfortable with identifying a profile and other people going past you. That's your victory, right? And that relates to the feelings that we have about competitiveness versus collaboration. So I think that the role of sustainability here is particularly important, and our success at doing that really is the ultimate example of reward and recognition. And for that reason, just as a very specific point of feedback to the document, I'd like to see the position of sustainability even more prominent. I would like to see that as the overarching driver for the pursuit of knowledge equality. And just to say a couple more words about that, we talk often about sustainability in the domain of nature, in the domain of economics, in the domain of societal development. And the document starts by mentioning some challenges to sustainability with respect to the environment, but then it sort of doesn't say any more about that, and I'd like to work on that a little bit more, to talk about things like energy in the context of providing education. What does that mean? When we send millions of documents back and forth on the internet, what are we doing to the sustainability of the world, and a zillion other examples. In the context of sustainable economics, we've talked some about how to work for open offerings for everyone and for access to everyone, but actually we've been talking maybe more about access and less about offerings. And I'd like to see us reflect and in a way that more directly confronts campus-based education as the core model. I think that relates not only to economic sustainability, but is absolutely central for knowledge equality. And finally, on this first point about sustainability, societal structures, this cannot be underplayed, right? Inequality in societal structures really is the most genuine threat to democracy. And the work that we can do in this network to promote knowledge equality directly confronts that threat and thereby directly supports the further development of democratic approaches to governance. Point one, then, is about sustainability. Point two is about activism, which I touched on in my question this morning, but I'd like to take a more radical version of it. So capitalism in the form of publishers whose business model is to break the backs of public universities is, of course, a particularly obnoxious example of anti-equality in the distribution of knowledge. But what about other things like sexism, like culture, like religion, fundamentalism, that has also as a tenet that it should be opposed to the scientific method and thereby to knowledge equality? So should we, as the Knowledge Equality Network, take a position on the Taliban? If you ask me what is a great threat to knowledge equality today, one of my answers is the Taliban. The Taliban is a great threat to knowledge equality because they don't want women to have knowledge. What does that mean to us in the formation of a network? That was my second point about activism. And my third point, which I'll use the next 3.5 minutes on, is about the tyranny of excellence. And my thesis is that knowledge equality is undermined by systems of reward and recognition that are constructed under the tyranny of excellence. Excellence is the fetishized pseudo-codification of the pinnacle of competition. And our commitment to leave relentless competition behind in favor of radical collaboration entails an abandonment of excellence as the guiding criteria for everything that we do. That is good news because excellence is undefinable in the scientific context. And it's a notion providing conservativeness in not only the distribution of money, but also the kind of science that gets pursued. In other words, excellence implies inequality. It implies distinguishing the excellent from the non-excellent, and the pursuit of equality entails its abandonment. This is, for those reasons that I just said, it needs to be replaced. Furthermore, the construction of science on the back of this fetishized pseudo-codification of excellence is directly responsible for the loss of public trust in science, since it doesn't work. So that should be replaced by other principles like capacity building, like breadth, like soundness, like comprehensiveness, like accessibility, where those should become the kinds of criteria that we want to advocate for as criteria that can feed knowledge equality as opposed to undermine it in the way that excellence does. Believe it or not, I could talk about this for a lot longer. But I'll stop there.
Thank you very much. Thank you for being timely.